could help with. It goes through approval, then it goes on a 3-year list, so it would probably take place in 3 years after the application is accepted. And through that program, it's typically 95% of it is paid for through the program, 5% to the city, but then the design and the construction inspection is the city's responsibility.
Okay. All right. Clerk was just saying if you could get that mic to just focus a little more closely for you.
Okay, is that better?
Yes, thanks. All right, do I have any questions from council?
Do we know who designed that bridge?
I do not. I have from the inspection report, it was built in 1960. I have no idea who designed it. I don't have plans, and I don't know if the city has them. That's something so the cities keep typically, but a lot of the older bridges from back then, I find a lot of times I can't find the plans. So.
Is there anything we can do right now to deflect some of that? I'm
mean,
talking 3 years from the drain, you know.
Yeah, I mean, we can, you know, deck drain extensions are a good idea. It would help slow it down. It's not really going to increase the load rating capacity, so I wouldn't recommend doing that and then changing the posting. That's the problem. I did look at some traffic data, and apparently it was 4.3% truck ADT, they call it, average daily truck traffic, and that's pretty normal. So it seems like they're not avoiding it. That's just what I could tell from a quick glance. Now, obviously, there's no weights associated with the data, but to have 4.3% is pretty normal. So it seems like it's not really being avoided. One of the things that you could do for increased safety, I was talking to Ohio, was maybe put the load posting further down the street on streets that turn in and on some of the major streets, so they know ahead of time, because a lot of times what the truckers do is when they get there, it's kind of, they just figure it's too late. They're just going to keep going. So,
do we need to reduce the weight limits on there now? Those ratings were done prior to the study or the investigation.
Those ratings, it seems like they took it into account, though. Just from, like I said, I didn't see the actual calcs, and I'm still trying to get a hold of them, but to have it posted that low seems like it takes it into account pretty well. The other beams on the bridge, I don't remember exactly how many. I think there's 10 to 12 beams are in decent shape. So there's what we call a lot of structural redundancy. So and we're not worried about the bridge falling in. I mean, at the worst, you know, you could get a heavy wheel load right over that spot that might crumple it a little bit, but you're not going to get, the whole bridge isn't going to fall in. That's not a worry.
Now, do you work with the county at all?
Well, we do work with counties and MDOT and a lot of cities, so.
I mean, to assist us in our case of, because we've already had issues with truck traffic on that road, of how do we get, because the main road of Allen Road, Goddard, that feed into that, are we going to have to ask them for no truck traffic, no right-hand turn, no left-hand turn, whatever the case is going to be?
I can't answer that right now.
Okay.
It's something that we could look into.
But with you being an expert, if we have to go to them and say, we're doing this study, this is going to be under repair, technically, we don't want the load coming through this neighborhood or this street. You know, I'm just asking for some types of assistance if Mark or somebody needs the expert opinion from our engineers.
Yeah, and we can do that. And like
Okay.
I said, I can look further into actually reviewing the load rating calcs. But in my opinion, from what I've seen, it's taken into account the condition that's there now. So.
Because, I mean, and from some of the citizens' views and the way those roads are being torn up anyway, we'd like to eliminate heavy traffic at all on Reek Road. So,
Mr. Mayor,
Councilman DiGilio?
a couple of questions here. Now, what happens if we don't get the funding? We still have to replace the bridge, correct? Where will the funds come from?
Well, eventually, you know, you can apply for, I can't remember how many, each municipality can apply, I think, for up to 5 different projects a year, so you could apply the next year. Them rejecting it doesn't mean that they don't that'll never get on the list. It's not in their top, whatever, a couple of hundred bridges that they work on each year, so.
Do you have
then
an
would-
approximate cost for the redoing that bridge?
Yeah, well, I did some quick and dirty numbers based on assuming a 10-foot longer bridge. Typically, when these bridges are rebuilt from the 60s, the DEQ wants a bigger opening, and I just know that it's gonna be it would be a longer bridge. So I based it on the same width that it is right now. I added another 10 feet. I came up with, it was roughly in the $750,000 range. 5% of that is around $38,000, and then you would be looking at $200,000 to $225,000 for the design and construction inspection. Construction inspection is actually a larger chunk than the design.
Approximately $1 million, is that what we're saying?
No, roughly 200, 220, no, the
whole
city's
thing.
portion would be
Oh.
200 to 225 roughly. And this is, again, numbers I don't want to be held to at the moment, but this was, you know, based on a quick notice, what I did, just kind of scratched out for an estimate. So that the total would be roughly $1 million, but 200 approximately or so would be
The
for the
city's
city.
portion.
Correct.
Thank you, Mr. Vince.
Yep.
Any other questions by council? So the only recommendation you would make is that we move the signs on our loads
Well,
closer
I'd
to
not
the
move them
connecting
to add
streets, or
additional
add
signs, correct. Yeah, you have to have signs at the bridge, and they are, so that would be the one thing that I would recommend at this point. Thank you.
Just to follow up on your question, Councilman Rourke, we will contact Wayne County and see if we can do something to divert the truck traffic away from Reef Road. if it's
Sooner
possible.
than later, right?
Yep.
Thank you.
Hey, so how, did Bruce do a report for the, or we talked about that Thursday? On Reek Road, the traffic, for the traffic study?
We have the counts and we have the number of the average daily traffic, and we have the truck counts, and that's all we have at this point. I mean, we found out that the southbound traffic is higher than northbound traffic. And we found out, like Vince mentioned earlier, that truck traffic is about 4.3%, which is within the average of truck traffic on the road. And the average daily traffic is in the order of 5,200 vehicles a day. I'm sure they're not all local traffic. It's probably is being used as a drive-through for as
I think it's what
a
was true.
collector, so.
Would you say, when you say the majority of the traffic is northbound,
Southbound.
Southbound.
southbound?
Coming from Allen going to Southgate. Just what we thought.
Possibly non-Allen Parkers.
Correct.
We have this data. We can summarize it and provide it to you for next meeting, if you like.
Okay,
The report is
I was
very,
just wondering if the truck traffic would represent a similar, but it would seem to me that that's unusual for them.
we will look at that and
That
do an
were-
analysis on it. and
We're
let you know.
southbound, because the problems we had before was with Frito-Lay, who was in Southgate,
Cutting through them.
coming north through there. And I think one of the other truckers that the chief contacted 2 weeks ago and said, hey, you guys have got to keep your trucks off that street.
I believe that was AGM over in
Oh,
South.
AGM packaging.
Yeah.
Again, if you like, we can do this analysis, provide it to you next meeting. We'll have it all identified by numbers, by direction, and
Time frame too?
as far
I mean,
as-
can you tell if more traffic is between 3 and 6?
Oh, yes, yes.
Okay.
It is, the traffic is collected over 15-minute periods and 60-minute periods, so we can isolate where the peak traffic is. For example, looking at the report, it shows that 11 a.m. is the morning peak for the road, and 5 p.m. is the afternoon peak, so you can identify those and decipher them. Again, the report is very lengthy, but we can summarize it and provide you that information next meeting.
Got it.
And I'm going to see, myself, Terry, Bob, we'll see Sohio Thursday morning, so we can kind of go over and make sure we have what we're looking for.
Maybe you can talk about a toll bridge for trucks only. Starting out, have it paid for.
Bob's already back there shaking his head. He's good to go.
There you go.
So, thank you.
Thank you.
I'll go ahead with my report, Brandon.
Please.
All right. Thank you for allowing the others to speak there for us. As Ohio mentioned, the first part of the street improvement village continues on Garfield. We went by there today. They're getting the last section prepped, and I believe that's between Fox and Colwell. They poured driveways on the north side between Colwell and Park Avenue, and they're also got the intersections taken care of in those areas as well. So they're making some pretty good progress. They'll be done with that hopefully by the end of this week with the pouring, and then they'll finish up on those driveways shortly thereafter. They already started removing the asphalt and the concrete over on Niver, and from what I could see from yesterday in morning, and then when Bob was there yesterday afternoon, and then today, they've got almost the first block from Inglewood to the intersection. I'm not too sure what street that is. Is it Park, Malon, I believe it is. That is already removed out, and then all the asphalt's taken off the road as well. So they'll be ready to start getting that prep for concrete probably late next week, I'm going to guess. And I believe they're going to go straight through. They're going to go right through the intersection. That's going to remain closed, I believe. So they'll do one continuous length of pours as they continue through that process. As the Deputy Chief mentioned, the HVAC replacement project was approved by the RTAB at the fire station. That's the fire station project, and that's scheduled to start Tuesday, July 5th. And then the bids for the exhaust removal system are also out, and they're due back Thursday, July 21st. Special Olympic registrations are still open until Thursday, June 30th. And Senior Olympics, I apologize. The Senior Olympics are open until June 30th, and that is being hosted by the city of Wyandotte. Also, applications for the Allen Park Sports Hall of Fame are still being accepted at the Recreation Office. The community build playground at Bacabella Park is scheduled for this Thursday, June 30th. They're going to start at 8 o'clock. If you want to attend to help, call the Recreation Office. That number is the 313-928-0771. And leave your number. As Pat mentioned to us before, no need for tools or shovels. They just need helpers. This event is being sponsored by the Allen Park Citizens Civic Fund and Lowe's Allen Park, as both are providing people, funds, and product. To this point, we've also had received additional donations from CE Rains, Buccelli Group, Gray Lakes Ace, and also Penta, Covier, and Kobelak. Terry from DPS reports that street sweeping continues, and the water department will continue to flush fire hydrants. For the next 5 weeks, they'll be working from Southfield to Inglewood. The parking lots at Cunningham, Gahona, and Millwood Parks have been sprayed for dust control. They used brine this time, so we're testing to see how that's going to work out. But we were able to do that internally. It's the same. I think it's the same mixture that we use on the roads to pre-wet for the salt to eliminate some of the salt use. So it's as similar as the calcium chloride. So we feel it's going to be a pretty effective method. I'm not too sure if you want any more details on this one here, but we can always have Bob come up and give them. But the $16.75 million bond sale is scheduled to close tomorrow. That is finally moving that way. He left you a large document on your desktop, I believe, and I think he might be planning a test next Tuesday on that. And then finally, the RTAB at this past Wednesday's meeting, the board approved a recommendation to the state treasurer and Governor Schneider to allow local control to be restored back to the city of Allen Park with restrictions. That is a similar process that was done in Pontiac. And I think it's a process that will at least help move us in the right direction for regaining full local control here in a short period of time. And then finally, while cable, the fiber is being installed today, I'm hoping that they're going to have everything working here in the next few days. But they were in the office physically running that fiber this morning and this afternoon. That is everything I have.
Any questions by council?
Just one, Mayor, for the Senior Olympics, how old do you have to be?
50?
Are you going to be included? That's what I want to know, Mayor.
Young 50 is the age there, so.
50, really?
50, yes.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
I've tried to volunteer just to help them test the cakes and cookies, but they never seem to call me back.
Yeah, well, I've had too many of the cakes and cookies, so I'm not going to volunteer for that.
Just before I ask for the motion to accept, file the updates, reports, and document submissions, I just want to say that I think Bob Cady did a wonderful job working on this along with our disclosure council. These bonds, which will be out for 30 years, paying for the bonds that were tendered, the 17 million, and these bonds are 2.25% less than the bonds we had issued in 2009. So to give you an idea, it's about over that 30 years is about $185,000 a year average savings to the city. So a tremendous city. And the other thing is that they had tried to bill us for these bonds when they hadn't even done the bonds, $575,000, Bob. And Bob got them down, I know it's still in a huge number, got them down to $194,000. And I tell you, that would take some work because the state had kind of approved, they had picked all these people to do the work. And so they were very happy to have Allen Park pay whatever these guys wanted to charge. And Bob, and I think maybe Fred Frank from the RTAB bar may have weighed in at the last minute and said that it was unconscionable to try and charge Allen Park what they were charging. And so 1% is a much more normal number. And one of the things that were included there that made it a little higher is a $55,000 discount on the bonds. The purchaser of the bonds, when they buy a whole issue, will normally buy them slightly below par, and this was a $55,000 purchase, which you don't ever like to have to pay, but I think if you look at what's done in these issues, it probably was not an unusual number, but it's included in that 194. So at that, you're under the 1%, and I felt pretty good about that. So if there are no other comments or questions, I would ask for a motion to accept and file the updates, reports, and document submissions, please.
Motion.
Moved by Mayor Pro Tem McLeod. Supported by Councilman Rourke. Is there any other discussion or questions? Hearing none. I'll ask for the vote. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That is carried. The consent agenda, excuse me. Public comments. I seem to jump by that. I keep looking at public hearings, and when I go by it, I kind of assumed that was the public comments. Forgive me. We will have public comments. On the back of your agendas are the rules of decorum. I hope you will be familiar with them and respect them when you come forward with your comments and questions. So with that, I will ask you to come forward, and there is a 4-minute limit.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council, Raymond Gusson, citizen of Allen Park, Quant. I had a couple questions. First one is, through the chair to Mark Kibbe, if possible, the dead trees that we have within our city, how can we get them? Do you have a list of what trees still have to be removed? And if you don't, if some citizen has a dead tree on their property that's dead, been dead for a number of years, how do they get it on the list to get it cut down?
Yeah, I believe DPS has a list that they've already compiled, but if you have another tree that hasn't made that list, give DPS a call or send us an email and we'll get it over to them.
So any of our citizens, all they got to get a hold of DPS and just says, hey, I need a tree cut down.
They'll take a look at it. I don't want to say that it's going to get on the list for cutting down, but they'll take a look at it.
But that's trees on easements or city property.
Yeah, that's what he's talking about.
I'm talking about trees on city property on the
Okay, I
easement.
just want to be clear.
Yeah, make sure.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
they're
not,
on
it's
this- on
not
the
a tree
easement.
sitting in their backyard overlooking their
Correct.
patio.
Yes,
Okay.
because there's one that's been on Park down there by the historical house that's really been dead for quite some time. I'd like to have that one removed. Okay, Mark, I need something cleared. About this bridge that's on Reek. When the loads were put up, were the loads, I'm no expert, but the sign was put up. How long ago was the sign put up with those loads up there? And if those loads were put up there, was that when the bridge was in brand-new, excellent condition? Because if we have deterioration happening right now, did they go ahead, have they redone those signs and lowered that limit since these deterioration of the road, of the bridge has started? And if so, when was that sign redone? I would like to know, what date was it redone?
Yeah, Mr. Mergetson, we'll have to check into that. I think that that's the, one of the issues there is that we'll need to look and see what the year that those were put in and make sure that they are adjusted to the new criteria of what the inspection found.
Because it sounds to me, if I heard that explanation earlier correct, that those load limits are within the specs of the deterioration. Did I hear that wrong?
I think that's what they said, but he also said was that the bridge is generally built to at least 4 times its weight limit strengths. That's pretty clear for all bridges generally built. Let's throw out the Verrazano and a couple others that kind of fell down the first
You know,
month they had them up.
I'm gonna be honest with you, I repaired cranes, overhead cranes, 70-ton, 100-ton cranes, and even though they were rated 1.5 times or 2 times for safety reasons, you never, ever exceed the 70 tons, never. Thank you very much. Have a great day.
My name is Ted Scrocky. I live on Reek. Who ordered this inspection for this bridge?
That inspection is required by MDOT on an annual basis.
We
Or
only
not-
had it.
Not an annual basis, on a 3-year basis.
3 years.
What?
2-year basis.
I've been coming to these meetings for I don't know how long. I lived in Allen Park for 40-some years. We only had one inspection, and that's when I had the signs put up. And that was it. And I don't know how long the sign's been up now. You know. And since we got all this information about how many trucks are running up and down the street, what are we gonna do about it? That's what I didn't hear today.
Well, you heard a recommendation. The first thing is,
What was the recommendation?
put the additional signs, and we'll put them at Reek and put them at,
We have signs right now. What are we doing about it? The signs are up there, no trucks. So what are we doing about it? You're gonna put more signs up there? And still have the truck and not enforce it?
well, and forgive me, I don't remember seeing a sign at Reek and Allen. And the issue you heard was,
Just as you make the left-hand turn, it's right there, it's staring right at you.
and they were just saying they wanted them up further, and the problem.
And down about a half a block or what, it tells you the weight limit.
Right.
From both sides, Goddard and Allen Road. And the signs, no trucks is right at the corner, at both ends.
Then you're aware of something.
I live
didn't.
on Reek, you don't. I know what the traffic's running through there.
I agree with you, but I've looked at both ends, and I don't
See the signs?
remember seeing the signs there. And I went over and looked after the last meeting.
Have you seen the signs?
I've seen the signs, but that's why he did that study to let us know maybe you're in the wrong place, Ted. That's
They're
what-
right at the corner, just as soon as you make the turn, it's right there, staring at, no truck, except for delivery.
But obviously,
please,
the truck drivers aren't
Huh?
seeing that.
Please, but Ted, you had to listen to what he said. He said, they've got to be moved out. Once that truck makes the turn onto the street, he isn't going to back up.
Yeah.
And he isn't going to make the first right turn or left turn to get off the street. He's going to go whatever place he thinks he was
You know
going
what
to.
they do? They go up, they see the sign, they go up the park and make the left-hand turn to get on Reek. I'd seen that.
Through the chair, what the engineers is recommending is to put the load signs, not necessarily just the no truck traffic signs, but move the load signs as well. I think that's what's not there right now.
They're about a half a block down.
Correct.
They used to be up front, and then they moved them down. You know, before, they used to be right on the bridge, one on both sides of the bridge, the weight limits.
Well, they're supposed to be there.
And somebody cut them down from the city. And I argued for I don't know how many months to get them back up. I think about two council meetings, 2 terms, maybe 3, to get them replaced. You know, you're talking about what now? Let's get it enforced. That's the main point. Because when I was going to get the signs put back up, I asked the chief, "Are you going?" "Oh, I'm going to enforce them when you get them up there." I ain't seen them enforced yet. They ain't wrote a ticket yet on them. So when are they going to enforce it? That's my point. And the speed on top of it. Waste my time.
Dennis Hayes, Manor Avenue. I think persistence pays off. I think Ted's persistent is beginning to pay off. I'm actually encouraged because if I heard the report correctly, they did a count. They said there was about 5,200 vehicles going down there, of which 4.3% or 225 or so were trucks. So I think we've established that we have a truck problem on a road that's not supposed to have trucks. You also identified, and hopefully the engineers will provide you this detail, 11 a.m., 5 p.m. peak periods. Presumably that peak includes the peak number of trucks. Ergo, if we're going to think logically and soundly for once in our lives, we might just choose to say to the police chief, okay, we've established some data here, scientifically, counts, numbers. Let's put somebody over there from 5 to 5:15 or 5 to 5:30 or 5 to 6, once a week, twice a week, 3 times a month, whatever it happens to be. Randomly apply some enforcement is what Ted's been saying for God knows years, over a decade I'd say. And we're finally starting to get the light to go on, which is good. That's progress actually, thanks to him. Persistence is important. I persisted in a matter about the rules of decorum. I see now suddenly we're not killing ourselves reading them every day. God bless me for doing that. I know the citizens have told me, thank God we don't have to listen to that stuff anymore. We talked last time I was here, we talked about speeding and traffic and running stop signs. Again, I was driving home on Manor at Maylon. Guy is putting in a sprinkler system on the corner house, that big colonial there. I'm pulling up to the side, I stop, and a truck goes roaring through there, 40 miles an hour, didn't even slow down. And I stopped, I said, did you see that, or am I imagining this? The guy said, this is a danger, he's an outsider, he doesn't live in Alabama, this is a dangerous community, it happens all day long. I've been here for 2 days now. That's all day long like that. Now I know the cops can't be on every corner at every moment, but for God's sake, we've established anecdotally, from testimony here, whatever, that we got a crisis in traffic enforcement in this community. And yeah, we're ticketing people on cell phone, which is fine, but God knows the safety of our neighbors and friends and our old people and our babies and children and strollers and dogs or whatever's walking around out there needs to be protected. And we got to wake up. I remember years ago when I lived on Vine Avenue, a cop came running down the street and ran the stop sign, and I screamed at him, hey, nice stop. And the guy backed up and said, what are you talking about? I said, you ran the stop sign. You want me to conduct a citizen's arrest? And he drove off quietly and didn't say anything. Maybe that started my history with the police, which is okay. Finally, let me just say that I'm happy to report, ladies and gentlemen, because I raised this issue and I was persisting following up. Our friend Councilman Cisco has paid his $500 fine to the county as of June 14th, which I'm thankful for. I don't know what the county will do with the money, but I did confirm today that apparently he went down and paid his fine. I hope that we all remember, when you choose to run for office, you have a duty to comply with whatever those regulations are for running for office, and one of them is filing a report. If he can afford to throw away $500 unnecessarily, I guess he's got more money than I do. I wouldn't want to do that. None of the rest of you had to pay any fines that I'm aware of, so hopefully we'll all learn from that. Thank you very much.
Hi, Greg Worth, Breek Road. I was here last council meeting. I spoke about the traffic issue as well. I was asked a question about the timing by Ms. McLeod. I did observe, and from what I can tell, 7 to 9 a.m., 4 to 6 p.m. That's when I'm seeing the most violations and people trying to rush home or rush to work. I did call County Commissioner Ronchek. I asked the question of the council. Did anybody else call? What are we doing collectively as a unit, individually as representatives of this city and public servants to help this issue? I don't mean to call anybody out, but I spoke of my passion the last time I was here. Councilman Templin, we have daughters that played on the same soccer team. And I'm sure all of you recall the negative publicity that the city received when Vince was killed on our street. Maybe you don't remember the marches, the candlelight vigils. I do. I had a sister-in-law that lives down the street from me that was in tears over what happened. Okay, that's my passion, all right? Has anybody looked at the traffic study information for speed of traffic? Was that monitored? 4.6%, that's an average for what type of street? I think if you look at any of our other residential streets, you're not going to find an average of 4.6% truck traffic. Just the other day, semi-truck coming down one way, Allen Park police officer going the other way. That's probably it.
Hey,
Okay,
please.
I'm sorry,
Mrs. Crockett,
sorry.
You too. Address the chair.
Anybody talk to our state representatives, see if there's any state funds available for additional police activity? What about a letter from the mayor? Okay, Mayor Paletko in Dearborn Heights put out a letter about the ordinance enforcement. How about our mayor putting out a letter from his office about traffic enforcement? How about a strict enforcement policy over the summer and using the public media, as I commended Chief Wilkowitz for doing when we had the issue with robberies in the city? Okay, we have alternatives. We have ideas of additional stop signs, stricter enforcement. What's being done? Has the Safety Council been contacted? Who's working on this? Is anybody focused on this issue besides the citizens that have been here? And I asked, do you want me to organize citizens to come here? Because I've talked to a few, and they're ready. All right, this is not my issue. This is a city issue. So something has to be done. What about an auxiliary force? Okay, a traffic unit. Chief Wilkowitz has told me that when we had a traffic unit, they were bringing in an additional $125,000 a year in traffic revenue. Taylor has an auxiliary unit. Okay, I mean, are we talking expense? Are we talking, you know, what's the issue there? All right, I'll help. I will help, okay, because something has to be done. I mean, common thread that I heard from a few people was, well, it's happening everywhere. Everybody's doing it. When your kids came home and they were doing something wrong and they said, well, everybody else is doing it, did that make it okay? No. All right, so let's not make it okay here. All right, thank you very much.
Mayor Pro Tem.
Before the next speaker, I just wanted to tell Mr. Worth that I thought about you on my way home from this meeting last time you were here, because as I was going down White towards Park, a pickup truck blew right through Park and made a left onto White and then right into the parking lot. And I thought, oh my God, if you would just give me a book of tickets, I could go through one a week. But you raised some very good points, and it's certainly something that won't be forgotten. Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, council members, and fellow citizens. My name is Kurt Mazag, a Becker resident and president of the Allen Park Citizens Civic Fund. Today, I'd like to remind everyone that we're having our inaugural pizza, beer, and wine event on July 14th. The event will be held at the Civic Center on White Street between 6 and 9 p.m. Tickets are $25 or $30 at the door. We'll have pizza from 12 pizzerias around the city, a variety of wines from 4 wineries, and approximately 60 craft beers. There'll be a silent auction with mixed baskets of donations from over 25 individuals or businesses, and they'll include gift cards. We have a bicycle and a couple of massages. Currently, we've sold 105 tickets and have more available. I have flyers with me identifying businesses with tickets to sell, and I have some tickets with me. And lastly, I'd like to say that it is our pleasure to join with Parks and Rec in the Bacabella build coming this Thursday. Thank you.
Mayor.
Yep. Councilman Cisco?
Mr. Mazak, Kurt,
Sir.
my old neighbor,
Yes.
continued neighbor in Allen Park, just not in the vicinity, sort of. I love what you guys are doing, and you know, when this, the Allen Park Citizens Civic Fund has been born out of the visioning committee, if I can say that. Would I be correct in that statement?
Would be correct.
Okay. And I think it's a great thing that we finally have a group that's, instead of just talking about stuff, that's actually getting together and doing things. So what I would like to do for your fund is to donate $100 right now to your organization, and which doesn't include your fundraiser. So.
Well, this is an unexpected surprise.
So.
Probably has to go through the chair.
So here's $100. I'm not worried about the receipt because I know that being a lifelong person that I've known, I'm not worried about where it's going to go. And hopefully maybe somebody in the audience would like to donate also, or somebody at home. Maybe Mr. Hayes would like to donate $100 or so.
Thank you, Councilman Cisco.
Thank you. I encourage everybody to do that to help this. This is a good thing for Allen Park, and we need to push that forward. Thank you, Kurt.
I see no one else coming forward, so I will move to the consent agenda items, but before we go to the items A2, B1, 2, 3, we're going to take claims and accounts, which are A1. Could I have a motion to put claims and accounts on the floor, please?
Motion there, Mr. Mayor.
Councilman DeGiulio has moved, supported by Mayor Pro Tem McLeod. Okay, questions, Councilman?
I do have a couple. This is on administration. The first one is, it says an insurance deductible, it's $1,800 or $1,600. The MML pool deductible, is that the entire amount of the deductible, or do we, I always thought we had 15,000 was the MML deductible.
This one they adjudicated for us. It was a claim that did not hit the entire amount.
So it's been resolved?
Correct.
This one is resolved. Then we have another one here, litigation from Pentock, Covier, and Kobodak. A female police officer, I see we're up to $7,080 for May. I think last month we had about $1,600. who exactly, I mean, who's the attorney and who are we representing? Are we representing the female officer? Are we representing the male officer? What's going on with that? It's already up to $7,080?
You know, Councilman DiGiulio, I'll be happy to, you know, we've talked about some of this before and not getting in too much detail when there's ongoing litigation. So I will be happy to discuss this with you at length.
So we can't say who we're representing? I mean, who are we representing anyway? Are we representing
Well,
the female or the male officer?
We are
Who are we
actually,
paying for?
sir, we are actually trying to protect the city with respect to all this and all parties that are involved.
Is the city being sued too? Is the city in litigation, or is this just between the officers?
Sir, it's not that simple. It's not a simple situation. And it doesn't warrant a very simple answer, but I will be happy to talk to you at length following this meeting.
Okay, just one more thing. The $7,080 and the $1,600 we paid last month, is that going towards the $15,000? Is this, the MML has taken this over?
No, sir. No,
No,
not,
this is not, we're not there yet.
that is separate.
Okay,
There's a lot of layers to this.
okay. And I know usually, like here in the city, we like to have a facilitator, a retired judge come in and handle things that go on, like with ethics and everything else. I mean, so this won't be something like that. This will go to a real judge, not a retired judge, correct?
It's, you know, our philosophy is always try to work things out the best way possible. So you never eliminate any option.
Thank you there, Mr. Covier. I appreciate that.
Any other questions by council? Hearing none, I'll ask for the vote. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That's carried. The rest of the items are a consent motion, and that would be the payroll report, the street closure for the Park Elks on July 23rd from 1 p.m. to 9:30 p.m. I believe that's a Saturday. And then the ice cream vendor permit for All-American Superhero and a $200 fee there. And then the door-to-door solicitor's permit, the Handrails Plus LLC home improvement $300 fee. So could I have a motion for those four items, please?
Motion.
Motion by Councilman Templin. Do I have a support?
Support.
Councilwoman, or Mayor Pro Tem McLeod. Is there any discussion on these matters? Hearing none, I'll ask for the vote. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That's carried. Thank you. Last matter before the council tonight is the resolution in regard to the assignment of tax foreclosed properties. Maybe we should put some of the things before the council before we ask for a vote as to where we are with the county's tax forfeitures at this point. And I don't know, Mr. Cady, do you have anything more since the June 8th possible forfeitures that the county sent us? Mr. Sabri, who is the new treasurer.
Good evening, everyone. Bob Cady, Finance Director. I did speak to a representative from the county about a week and a half ago, and they are still working with taxpayers to try to resolve all these matters. They don't expect to get us a revised list until after the 1st of July. That they've set a drop dead date, I guess, but I wouldn't expect a new list other than the one we have, which is now 6 weeks old, until after the 1st of July. If you'll remember, last year, I think we got the list around the 14th of July, and they gave us a whole 2 weeks to consider taking the properties or not. So I wouldn't expect much difference this year.
We just say for the audience watching and those in our council room tonight that one of the big problems they have when they sent us the notice in May, I guess, of what might be coming, although the list didn't list Detroit, we were told that Detroit had potentially 51,000 potential forfeitures. And if you can imagine, let's assume that there's just 2 people and not 2.9, displacing over 100,000 citizens in a city of 700,000. And so, and they have to treat every community kind of the same, so we all get put on hold as we try and work, county tries to work through these issues and see if they can get people to stay in their homes, which I think we all are hopeful can happen to the every extent possible. But it's our county is particularly hard hit. If you look at 83 counties, I don't think anybody's close to what we face every year here. So, and the county, remember, when a citizen pay their taxes, every February 28th, after the taxes have not been paid, we send the unpaid tax bills to the county, and the county then reimburses these cities and townships for those unpaid taxes. Now, just when we say that, it's the ad valorem taxes. They don't reimburse us for fines or liens on the property or anything like that. We're not. So if we have to go out and cut grass on a home, or if we have to go in and do this at a home, or we have to do that, the county does not reimburse us for those items. And oftentimes
And
in a
no
forfeiture,
personal
those liens and everything are cut off.
Right, no personal property either gets reimbursed.
Right, no personal property. That's right, too. So. Mr. Kibbe, do you want to make any?
Yeah, if I may, through the chair, I give you a presentation or a memo here with the process that we used last year. This was not the easiest memo to write because it does not give you a recommendation. If you know, I always try to give you a recommendation. So actually on this one, I'm actually looking for direction as to how you want to go. And that would be to have the administration prepare an RFQ to help select a company to rehab these tax foreclosed properties, or two, to continue the existing relationship with Realty Transition for 2016. So I'm looking for direction, I guess, on that aspect. If if you want us to do an RFQ, then we'll get that process started, and we'll have something back in for probably, I'm going to guess, probably more likely the second council meeting in July, as opposed to the first, just to give enough time. If you want to continue the relationship with Realty Transition, then we'll need to just start working on the draft of a contract, probably similar to last year. As I did mention in the memo, we did have a few internal technical issues. Worked with Dave Boomer. I think we've got a couple ideas on how to resolve those. We actually did meet with, I shouldn't say we, Dave met with Mr. Awad on Monday to look at one of the houses on White Street and gave a list of items that need to be addressed on that. And then we've also talked to Mr. Awad and indicated that for 2016, if the agreement does go to Realty Transition, that we'll be looking for, and I should say not only for Realty Transition, for anybody that it's selected, curb appeal is going to be one of the criteria that we're going to look at, because that's going to make the most impact to the neighborhood. And I think that's what we're really looking for. You're looking for that synergy that a developer like this can come in. They're going to put in, let's say a new roof or siding or windows and landscaping. That's going to have that synergy. I know my neighborhood, and I think every neighborhood here in Allen Park is the same, is when you go out to do some improvements around your house, the neighbors kind of get that contagious as well, and they start putting in flowers or landscaping, or they cut the grass or different things on that front. So hopefully that will create the synergy to help get some improvements in a couple of the neighborhoods there.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
I'd like to make the motion to continue the existing relationship with Realty Transitions. I think they've done a good job.
And I'll support that, Mr. Mayor.
The motion is to award a contract for the 2016 foreclosed properties to Realty Transitions. Is that a statement of them?
Could I just tweak it a bit? Authorize the negotiation of a contract? That way, if council decides to do that, we could then work on the terms, and then we come back.
Mayor, I had some.
Yes.
I had some questions that
Okay, well, we've got a motion they want to put to the floor, so I've got to see what that's gonna be and what it's gonna look like.
Pending any questions? Usually that's what we've done in the past, there's a motion.
Then we're gonna have a discussion for and against the motion and any other feelings that council has on the matter, but, Councilman Cisco has put forward a motion and it's been supported. City attorney's asked that it be a recommendation that realty transition subject to a negotiated contract with, legal counsel, be given the contract.
No, I understand that, but usually we put a motion out for purpose of discussion and won't give us a chance to discuss it, and then somebody has already seconded it anyway, but I mean, then we can do the vote after that.
And we will,
Okay,
yes.
so we can have discussion now, I guess is what I'm asking.
Well, I'm trying to get the motion clear. Council has asked that they change their motion to say the contract be awarded after realty transition be given the assignment of tax foreclosed property after a negotiated contract is done with the city's corporate counsel.
Okay, so we need
I-
Harry.
And I need Harry to agree to that and the seconding party, Councilman DiGiulio.
I'd like to say, I see no reason for that. These fellows have proven themselves to us this last year. I mean, I viewed 3 of their homes, Philomene, Ann, and Niver, and they were all very nice. Even one had a jacuzzi tub in it. My wife got angry. She wants one now. So, I mean, I see,
Well, wait, I'm gonna ask for the moving party first to see what they
okay,
feel.
you're the moving party.
Well, in reality, I actually agree with Angelo. Okay, write that down, please.
Wait a minute
Say
here.
that again,
Write
Harry.
that
Let's
down.
go
Say
back to
that
the mayor's
again.
statement, please.
The reality is, I do agree with Angelo on the job that they've done, but I also see obviously a need to have a contract and for all parties to agree on a contract. So I would go ahead and change that resolution to include the contract.
All right, now,
Want me to talk again?
no, I want
I-
you tell me whether you're going
Yes
to
or no?
allow the change to the motion.
I'm going to vote no against the change because I know these gentlemen have done what they promised to
No,
do.
sir, but just so we're clear, we're not changing anything. We're still, the idea is still, the question is, do you want to go with them? That's still
Absolutely.
there.
I mean,
My only point was, it's going to be subject to a mutually acceptable agreement. The terms of,
wasn't it always that way, though? Isn't it always going to
I
be?
just want to be clear with that. That's all he's asked for, and ask if you would second
That's
that.
fine. I mean, okay, I'll support that.
Okay, so
My
now,
good friend Harry wants me to
My
support
good
it.
friend
have the
Angelo
clerk read the
actually
motion
agrees.
as the corporate counsel has suggested.
Okay, I have a motion by Cisco and supported by DiGiulio to authorize realty transitions for the 2016 foreclosed properties, subject to a negotiated contract with the city attorney.
Correct.
I couldn't have said it better. Thank you there, Mr. Attorney.
Okay, we'll take questions from council at this point.
I have a couple.
Well, you've made a couple comments, so let's
Is it
hold for a
time?
moment. Well,
Go ahead.
I just had a couple of
Thank you.
questions related to, Mark's letter indicated that they had 8 properties available. And I had an addendum list that listed 13 properties for the tax foreclosure homes. Are the 13 the ones that Realty Transition purchased from the county?
They only took, there was only they only ended up with 8.
Wasn't it 5 homes and 2 empty parcels?
Yeah, they did not take they did not end up with the empty parcels, and then a couple of those came off that list.
Okay.
Yeah, just
So I need an
just
updated
through the
list.
chair to clarify, so are you looking at last year's list or this year's list?
Last year.
Probably last year's. That's-
So what happened was, because there's moving parts and things change, so we started out with a list, and then at some point, the county actually contacted us and said, hey, we have a taxpayer who wants to redeem their property. In fact, we had the understanding with them that even though this list says 14, it is possible that we may not get 14. We may want to take some of those homes off and that is, in fact,
You're
is what
talking
happened.
for this year.
Right. Because, you know, unless a house was really a neighborhood nuisance or something like that, we would always want the taxpayer to be able to keep their home.
The houses that they took possession of, and, I don't know, say parcels they took possession of, were Keppen, 17454 Keppen. That has a pending sale. 15828 Ann, that also has a pending sale. 15160 Hanford, that house has been sold. 15269 White, that has issues. There's an issue with the garage. 15200 Philomene was sold. 14801 Southfield, they worked with the previous owner on that one. 9644 Niver has been sold. And 10153 Allen Point, it's a condo, was sold.
Okay, so these come on.
Yeah, like the E-Course Road, I see you had E-Course, 17410 E-Course was actually one that that was a DDA parcel. That's the old gas station.
Okay.
And there was an issue with I believe that was a water bill or something, and it got resolved. So that is where Joe's
All right.
saying those end up coming off the list for that.
So out of the 8, we have 4 sold and 2 pending, correct?
2 pending, 4 sold, yes.
So there's only 2 properties unaccounted for at this
Right.
point. Okay,
And 2 have issues. The one has an issue with the garage is on both parcels. And the vacant, or the vacant parcel that has part of the garage on it has all the mortgages of some sort. There was a snafu way back.
So is that not a title issue? Is that a title issue then?
Yeah,
Well,
I'm gonna leave it
I
to Joe
think
for
maybe
legal
Mr., maybe Dan could answer that. I don't know exactly what's going on with that.
Yes, on the property on White, there are 2 parcels. A third of the garage is on the vacant parcel. We have talked to the lender, and the lender is in the process of negotiating with us to see if we can get a release of the mortgage. If that's the case, we've also talked to the former homeowner, and they are negotiating with us to sell us the lot. Now, if that doesn't happen, then there are some legal proceedings we can pursue that would take a little longer. But right now, we're fairly confident we'll be able to just resolve it through just basically adding a little bit more purchase money to it. So right now, that's our hope. If that doesn't happen, then we'll have to see if we can clear the property legally.
could I ask, just
go
to
ahead.
close this and then I'll be
Okay.
done. Of the 8, there's only 2 that are still, nothing seems to be happening on. What's the status on those? And that would appear to be Southfield and Allen Point.
Allen Point was sold.
Allen Point was sold.
Allen Point was sold, okay.
I
it's
think
not showing
Ann
up.
and White are the 2 that are left.
Right. Yeah, White, we actually are proceeding with the rehabilitation of the property. That should be done in the next few weeks. If that long, it might be before that. We won't take any steps against the garage until we figure out what's going on with it. As far as Southfield goes, that's a commercial property. We negotiated with the former owners to give them a discounted lease and let them stay. Originally, they were wanting to stay there. They notified us last month that they'd like to leave, so we let them out of their lease, and they actually want to leave on the 1st. We've renovated the 2nd floor of that property. They were originally going to move up to the 2nd floor. There's 2 full floors. And then we were going to go ahead and rehab the bottom floor after they were gone up to the 2nd floor. But like I say, now they've decided that they'd like to be relieved from the lease. We told them we'll do that, and then we're just going to do a full upgrade of the property.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor?
Let me go down the row. Any questions, Larry?
Just, we're not required to put out a request for qualifications or anything? We don't have anything in our ordinances, says we have to go out for a bid process?
The statute says that we cannot make any money on this transaction
Okay,
And the
so,
transaction that we have is that they have to pay whatever we have to pay the county to get it. So it's a zero sum. There's no way for us to,
so we're not held to anything? Okay.
right, so I think that relieves us of the responsibility to go for a bid process.
Okay.
If we're satisfied with the person.
All right, very good.
I just had one question earlier. Talked to Mark about these technical issues. They've taken care of that. And then any negotiation discussion, we'll talk about external improvements as well versus internal. Okay. Thank you.
Everybody has spoken to me, but you go ahead now.
I can talk now? Well,
Councilman
thank you,
DeGiulio.
Mayor. I really appreciate you, you know. I voted for you, by the way. Sorry, Dennis. Anyway, I did. I drove by 15269 White this morning, and it's even quite impressive, even though it needs stuff done to it. I mean, it's got the nice fence, it's landscaped. It looks like you put some landscaping in the front. So it's quite impressive, even though you're going to still do more to it. And I did look at the garage, and I see what you mean. A portion of it's on the one lot, and a portion of it is on the extra lot. Now you can talk, Mayor.
Have you completed your remarks?
I have. Thank you.
Any other questions by council, comments? Councilman Cisco.
Well, maybe there are comments, questions, I'm not sure, but I just want to say this. You know, I've talked to Dave Boomer a number of times about these houses, and Dave unfortunately was here, but he had a meeting to go to somewhere else. And before he left, he texted me, and I've asked him this a number of times. I said, Dave, I said, do you have any problems with realty transitions? I want to know. He goes, no. And I said, if you have to come to the podium and say you're okay with them, they've done everything. I said, you have a problem with that? He goes, no, absolutely, I'm there. So Dave Boomer just said, going to Cabrini, I have no issues with realty transitions again. So, you know, this is evidence on my phone. And I just want to also say something else is that, and this is the issue that we had a year ago. Not an issue, but this is what came up, is that Shadi Awad that owns Realty Transitions is an Allen Park resident. And one of the things that we talked about at the last year ago meeting was that we need to have Allen Park people do these things. He lives in the community. He's growing up his family here. He has other family members that have houses here. He's done a lot of good things. I've talked to Jesse Jackson at APAC, and they're building 3 new dugouts. And Shadi Awad is providing the labor. Now, APAC had a fundraiser, so they have the materials, and Shadi Awad's company, or Shadi Awad, I don't know, I can't separate the two, actually, but they're providing all the labor to do that. So, you know, he's giving back to the community. He lives in the community. He's a very responsible young man. He's a very impressive young man. And I see no reason why we can't agree that we continue. In fact, I even said at the last, a year ago meeting, that we would be watching how the houses would go, and that based on his performance would be an indicator of whether we should award a contract to him and his company again this year. And I see no reason for that not to happen. And I just wanted to say that. So I want to thank you for all you've done in the community also. So thank you for that.
Yeah, I'd like to make just a couple of remarks. I was not one of the people that supported the motion to give to the Realty Transitions their contract last year. And I was glad that the council decided to amend to have the contract negotiated and all parties understand their obligations, because we didn't have the contract fully complied with. But of the 5 houses that have sold, there have been no complaints by any of the purchasers that there were any defects that they found after moving in or whatever. And I think that's the test of the work that was done by Realty Transitions managers and workmen. And also, the compliance was that $30,000 in renovations would be done to each individual property. I, for one, had anticipated that I was going to see something of labor hours and bills on the individual properties. That wasn't done. And the property shall not be transferred prior to obtaining a final certificate of occupancy for the property which is being transferred. Now, we don't at this point require certificates of occupancy when people sell. But because we said a point of sale inspection would begin before the commencement of rehabilitation, certificate of occupancy would have been a more logical way to conclude the matter on each property. And I'm not going to go and say Realty Transitions was more at fault than Allen Park for not enforcing the terms of its contract. But one of the reasons negotiating the contract was to make certain that these things have to be done. What are we trying to achieve? Sure, we would like the citizens who've lived in those homes to be able to keep them. In one case, I think that was done, and I applaud Realty Transitions for that. On the commercial property, they were most cooperative with Mr. Schreiber and his counsel. When pretty clearly Mr. Schreiber got kind of mixed up when he lost his tenants and didn't have the money to pay his taxes and insurance, and therefore lost the property. And they tried to work with him to make certain that he could conduct his business there, but he's decided he's going to either retire or conduct his business somewhere else. That's his decision. But I think the real test, and I went through and looked at the sales and the asking prices to compare those to what the true cash value of the property is. If we doubled the assessed value, then we'd get the true cash value. And in every situation but one, they have increased the sales price of that property. I'm not certain that it's necessarily 9% more, which is the average sales increase in the city of Allen Park, but when you take an average, we're taking all the homes selling, and almost every one of the homes they had developed a reputation of being a problem house in the neighborhood. I don't know if that affected its upside potential or not, but I was pleased to see that every house sold above except the one, and the only property that sold below, and I talked with our assessor about it, and we concluded the same thing, and that was Allen Point, and it sold for about $5,000 less than its assessment, doubling its assessment. But when all those 250 units were sold when they were apartments back in 2006, they sold for about $22,000 to the people that condominiumized them. And this house sold about $19,500 and was true cash value was about $20,000. There's a $500 difference, which I think is very hard to figure out what's going on in those parcels. They are the lowest selling parcels we have in Allen Park, so they may not react similar to what we would expect in our other neighborhoods. Actually, the assessor uses 17 different assessment districts to determine true cash value and assessed values to come out with a final number. Now, we've got Headley and Prop A that require it, but in any event, we did see the property go up above what we had been assessing it at before, and I think that was one of the goals of the city, was to improve it. Obviously, we'd like to have it improved as much that it might be the leader of the neighborhood in bringing it forward and bringing neighbors to improve their property. But I think in reality, even though we had those little hiccups that the contract didn't get done as we thought it was going to be done in the last analysis. The work was good. It was inspected by our inspectors and signed off on as good work. And so it seems to me that there's no reason to have to go out to the bidding process. But I do think those areas that we wanted to see going into the home, all the parties have to agree that I think to some extent are going to be there in this new contract and carried out. But we'll see what the contract comes back after negotiations too. The council have to make the decision. So those are my comments. I'm intending to support the motion.
Call for the vote.
Vote's been called. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That's carried. So that's good to go. The last is other business. Council have any comments they wish to make before we adjourn the meeting? Mayor Pro Tem?
I'll go first. As many of you may or may not know, Tina Gavarecki's father passed away on Sunday. He is at the Martinson Funeral Home. There is viewing there this evening until 9 and tomorrow from 1 p.m. to 9 p.m. It is at the Allen Park Chapel. Ironically, Maureen Sullivan is not here because her daughter is in labor, and it struck me that we have this wonderful circle of life. And while Tina has lost her father, we have soon a newborn. And I think we should all feel blessed by that. You all take care and have a good evening and a safe 4th of July.
I'll go while everybody's thinking. I echo the prayers for Tina and her family as well. Also, I want to, Father Joe Malia from Cabrini is leaving after 12 years in this community and had a major impact in this community. And this past weekend, we had his last couple masses, and I think Thursday's 8:30 is the last one. And a nice reception to thank him. But he was part of that unity walk when Allen Park was going through some tough times. Him and Pastor Blakey, right, kind of came together and helped unite Allen Park, and at least kind of put us on the right path with that. So we're gonna miss him and his influence here. And then also, it was nice for Deputy Chief McCann to come up and talk about the working together of the police, the fire, the water department, and DPS. So I give them accolades that they have the heart of Allen Park in them, and it showed, you know, on 94, like you said, put them in harm's way, but they do what they do because they're good at it. So thank you for bringing that up as well.
Councilman DiGiulio?
Thank you, Mayor. I'm going to get a new neighbor out of this deal here with Megan Armstrong and Fred Bachman having a baby, Maureen's daughter and son-in-law. And also condolences to Tina on the loss of her father. That's a tough one. I've gone through both of my parents. And I just want to say that I feel that taxpayer residents have a right to the knowledge of where their tax dollars are being spent. That's why I separate claims and accounts most weeks. Very seldom do I not. It's been on the 11 o'clock news. It's been in the front page of the Heritage newspaper. And I just feel the residents have a right for me to speak on that. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councilman Cisco?
Yes, I also want to just echo a little bit what Councilman Warwick has said about Father Joe Malia. You know, his homilies were great to listen to, and I used to apply those in my weekly life, because from week to week it would change, and I got great strength from a lot of the things that he has said, and practical applications in my life. So he'll be missed a lot. But I want to talk about Reek Road, Mr. Worth. So I've been sitting on Reek Road. I've gone up and down that street 100 times since 2 weeks ago. Well, maybe 98. Reek Road is 1.1 miles long. It has 3 stop signs. And I think an immediate thing we can do, unless there is some kind of thing that we have to apply for that I don't know about legally, is that we should add at least 2 more stop signs there. One at Reek and Pleasant. And there's also another stop sign that should be at Reek and Maylon. And that should be a 3-way stop. If you're going west on Maylon and you come up to Reek, and if there's cars parked in that little shopping center that's right there, you cannot see to your left at all. It's impossible. For that reason alone, and that's been like that for years, forever as I can remember, for that reason alone, there should be a 3-way stop right there. And I think with the extra stop signs, I think we see a little bit of a slowdown in traffic and maybe a diversion of people who don't live in Allen Park might find another way to go that might be a little faster for them. Of course, I do go down Reek myself a lot, obviously 100 times in the last couple of weeks.
I did.
So I think those are the things that we can look at, and we need to be a little proactive in looking around our city. I've said before that they have signs now that are battery-aided solar packs that you can have like a stop sign or like a regular sign, and it shows you the speed. There's no longer a need for those gigantic little truck things that show your speed as you're going down. They now are this wide and sit on a pole, and they're movable. They are rather expensive, like around that $3,000, $4,000 range. But I think if we had a few, we could move them around the city or keep them in places where we have a problem. I think that would be money well spent. Since we can't have police in a place constantly. And that just goes back to what we had talked about before, and it was brought up at the podium, is allocation of resources. And we need to do a better job of that, and we're not. And it shows. It shows all over. And listen, I think there's a problem in all cities of people ignoring signs. And I have my idea about how that happened, but I said, since they took the driver's education out of the schools and let private people do it, I think driving has gone downhill. That's just my opinion. But I think when the teachers used to go in there and used to scare the living daylights out of you about driving, I think it made an impact. Okay, so now we have private driving schools, everything's privatized, and everything's supposed to be better. Well, it's not. It's just not. All right, so Reek Road is being discussed, and we will get to a conclusion, and as you know, government does not move quickly. That's just a fact. Now I want to transition into ordinance enforcement. And this is one of the things that I've been talking about since 2011, and others have also, is that we need to have consistent ordinance enforcement. A lack of ordinance enforcement leads to blight in the city. One of the things that we've always concerned about is blight in the city. Businesses causing blight because of mega signs and all kinds of junky things. We have to decide as a city, and citizens need to voice their concerns about, do you want any business doing what they want to do? And all you have to do is go a little farther down the road and go into parts of Detroit and see that business owners get to do what they want to do. I don't want that to happen in Allen Park. We need to tighten up on these ordinances, and I'm not sure how we get to that point because I've been talking about it for so long. I'm tired of talking about it, and I think it's falling on deaf ears. Just recently I had a problem with 4th of July, so all the fire tents go up, the fireworks tents go up, right? So we have one on Southfield, and we have, I think, 2 others, one on Southfield and Outer Drive, one at Southfield and Roosevelt there, and one up on the hill. And I think the one at Southfield, and maybe the city clerk can help me here, is the one on Southfield and Outer Drive a nonprofit organization?
I believe, I was informed that the one on the hill or in the Lowe's, is it, no, Myers Parking Lot is a nonprofit.
All right.
I don't know about the other 2.
But I just want to say this, and I've complained about it, and I've talked to Deputy Chief McCann about it and Dave Boomer about it, and they went on Friday to do an inspection. And I see some things have changed. They had an electrical wire going from one business across the parking lot. I see that's been removed. Obviously, I probably was a hazard of some kind. So that got changed. But the part that really gets me about the fireworks places is the signs. They throw them up everywhere. They don't care where they throw them. They're here for a short amount of time, and nobody really cares. Today, where there was a Fireman Realty sign by Tim's Coney Island there, right on the corner, which realty companies are allowed to do. They're allowed to put that there. That is now a fireworks sign. It's no longer a fireman's sign. And it's right on the sidewalk. Sidewalks here, signs here. Our sign ordinance says you cannot be that close to the sidewalk. I believe it's 2 feet. You have to be away. And I object to them using the American flag as a sales tool and sticking it everywhere. Originally, before today, they had their fireworks sign with 2 poles in it with hold up by the American flag on top. I find that pretty disgusting, you know, that it's become a prop rather than what it should be viewed as. We also have and I want to say this, I know Deputy Chief McCann, I have lots of respect for you and your job. You know exactly what you're doing. But he can't be at these places 24 hours a day looking at stuff. We have a ordinance against fire lanterns, right? Chinese lanterns. So I happened to go in this afternoon to that establishment at Roosevelt and Southfield, and I purchased a Chinese lantern sitting right on the desk.
It's illegal, Councilman.
Well, it's going to be, I'm going to light it up right in the parking lot and see if I get arrested. Because obviously they could sell them. It cost me $3, by the way. So, and it's right on the front counter. It's not hidden. It's right there in plain view. And I'm sure that our deputy chief looked for these and didn't see them, and I bet you they came out after he left. And this is what I'm talking about. Business people, they're here for a short amount of time doing whatever they want to do because they get inspected once, and after that, it's all over with. They get to do whatever the hell they want. And I don't like it. I don't like carpetbaggers coming into our city doing whatever they want while our longtime business owners get hammered about these ordinances and these fly-by-night people come in and do whatever they want to do. So I've talked to our deputy chief, and we're going to possibly work on some things for next year because obviously the time is short. But can I donate this to the Allen Park Citizen Civic Fund for
The fire department.
the fire department?
It's contraband.
So, but I just want to say that. I mean, we have to take a stand on these things, and the people need to be involved. It can't just be me screaming about it all the time, because I don't want to scream about it all the time. So, and I don't go looking for these things. They're just there. You know, I go down my street on Ecorse Road. They're all there. There's cars with no plates on them, and I know we've given them 90 days, I believe, to clean up their lots. So I have a couple other things to talk about. One other thing, we talked about the Unity Walk. That is scheduled for July 21st, and I'm hoping the APCCF can help with that. That would be the third Thursday of July, and the second Thursday of July will be the APCCF fundraiser. So 1 week after that, kind of coincide, and I'm hoping that's our newly minted organization can help out with that and keep this going, and we'll have a new priest at Cabrini over there that we'll have to talk to get things going. But I think it's a good thing to do, and it keeps everybody together, and that's what we need. We need to all pull together to make our city that much better every day. That much better every day. Just that much. And if we keep doing that, it'll be a great, 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 great place, even though it is a great, great, great place. But it'll be that much better. Thank you.
My thoughts and prayers go out to Tina and her family. Thanks for coming tonight, and have a safe holiday weekend.
I too want to express my sympathies to Tina and Mrs. Rigetti and the rest of their family on their loss. As Councilman Cisco mentioned, the Unity Walk is scheduled for June 21st, 6 p.m. And we have started to put that together, and more information will be out before the weekend. I hope everyone has a good 4th of July, that it remains safe. Please, even though you can blow your fireworks off until I think midnight on the 4th, I think it's 11 o'clock on the 3rd and again on the 5th, but please respect your neighbors in using those fireworks. It's one of the biggest problems. I don't know how many calls I get at funny hours. People say, can you hear the fireworks? Generally, I can hear them, and it's very hard to find them. I've actually gone looking for some of them, and they're going off. But
Alert for you.
what?
I said they have to put out an alert for you.
Yeah, maybe they know that white car coming. I don't know. But anyway, I hope everyone has a good 4th of July, and that I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Councilman Cisco has moved.
Support.
Supported by Mayor Pro Tem McLeod. All in favor signify by aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Carried. We are adjourned at 7:41.
I'll tell you something. Yeah, just in the hallway here.
Here, Mayor, this is yours. We're giving that to you for a holiday party.
Years.